Welcome to all our esteemed listeners. This is the All India Radio Imphal, and you're now listening to the English Talk. This week, we bring you the concluding part of the interaction between Pushpanjali Potsangbam, the first woman commercial airline pilot of Manipur, and Sagulsem Roma.
To fly an aircraft, it's a huge responsibility. Every day when you get dressed to take charge over the aircraft, what are the things that goes into your mind?
I don't take the stress of thinking that I'm taking so many people, but the only thing that I focus on before a flight is getting that enough sleep. And it's easier said than done. So just to coordinate, because the planning starts days before the actual flight, because you need to set yourself according to a particular time that the departure is at. It could be an all-night flight. We call it a red-eye flight. So it is tougher than normal flights. So just doing that is one thing that I make sure that I do. Now, I've been in the job for about 11 years. So with experience does come a lot more calmness preparing or going for the flight.
Okay.
But then earlier I remember I used to make sure that I'm not missing anything in my flight bag, because there are a couple of things that are important when you go for a flight. Rest is the most important, and initially obviously to get used to a procedure and everything. So I used to review my books and all. So that was just about that. Yeah.
If God forbid, let's suppose any situation where there are heavy turbulences, disturbing situation where, the passengers starts getting disturbed. How do you tackle all this stress? I mean, if any situation like this arises.
Yes. Prevention is better than cure, as they say. As in, if you have a weather system in front of you, that's something that you can prevent, as in the turbulence part of it. But we do have this thing called the clear air turbulence, the CAT. So that is something you can't foresee or predict. If that happens, but I make sure that as soon as, we stabilize in the flight, I make a passenger announcement saying, and you must have heard it too, that even if the seatbelt signs are on, you have to keep your seatbelts loosely fastened, because that is preparing for any unforeseen circumstance like that.
Right.
It does keep you safe because, there could be people walking around you, and if you are also unstable and they fall on you, it does get pretty bad, as in we've had injuries because of that. But then purely because of turbulence, and if people are sitting with their seatbelts loosely fastened during cruise time, not so much. It's not that bad. Because we do study meteorology, which is studying the weather. We do know how to sort of calculate, and then our flight plan also comes with this prediction that it might get a little, we call it choppy, that's basically turbulent. We try and prevent those levels. We either go higher or we fly lower than that, because in commercial flying, passenger comfort is one of the top priorities. So we plan it accordingly. So please do remember to have your seatbelts on.
Of course, I will always remember that.
Yes.
Okay, emergent landing.
Yeah.
This is also a very scary side. How are you trained for this type of situation? Like you have to land on water or on highways or something like that.
Yeah. So we have, you'll be very happy to know, we train for this twice a year. Okay. So that's something that happens every 6 months for us. All sorts of landings. There are more critical landings than that as well. So we do practice all of those, and practice is the only way that, you can smoothen your skill, as they say.
Okay.
So we keep doing that. We keep running those things till the time. Sometimes we do read books. There are techniques to do different kind of landings, keeping those in mind, and then obviously applying them practically in flying an aircraft. And sometimes if our instructor feels or examiner feels they can perfect it, they do more runs on that, then make us practice those. So every pilot does go through it twice a year.
I do pray that you do not come across
I
this
hope so.
situation
Yes.
at all.
Yes.
This is a very silly question. You are flying a whole huge aircraft.
Yeah.
What if you drive a 4-vehicle on road and you happen to confuse the buttons of your aircraft with those of the car? And how do you? I mean, this is a very silly question, I know, but we just wanted to know.
Thankfully, cars don't have that many buttons.
Yeah.
So it's not that confusing.
You
As
get
in
confused in your mind that like you are driving an aircraft. I mean, you get into the mood.
the mood, yes. Oh, that's the biggest thing. My dad jokes about it. So on the runway or on the taxiway, you might have seen we follow the center line, right? So we have this
Yeah.
line that. So I do tend to not get in my lane and try to get
Okay.
on the center line every time, or even on the road.
Right.
So my dad is like, "Oh, you're not in the aircraft, like you're driving right now." So he does joke about it.
Okay.
But other than that, I think they're pretty different in the sense that you have a steering wheel instead of a control column in the aircraft. So yeah.
Another silly question.
No, please, please.
3 hours you are on board.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you are flying the aircraft,
Uh-huh.
and 3 hours you've got to spend. What jokes do you crack with each other, with your co-pilot?
Oh, all right. It depends on the experience of the co-pilot. Sometimes you can bully them. Like tell them stuff that isn't true and then just see their reactions. Otherwise, normally it's a good environment in the sense that you can talk about anything. But 3 hours into the flight, I think we would be thinking about food. Most probably.
Exactly.
We would be thinking about food, yeah.
Because 3 hours non-stop without talking, without any conversation would be too boring.
No, we do talk. We do talk. As in, but at the same time, the job is such, it is counted as one of the most stressful jobs in the world. That's
Right.
because you're not just flying the aircraft. The autopilot is there, obviously. It helps us. But at the same time, you're listening to the air traffic controller. You're making sure that your systems are running smooth, as in the engines or there's so many other systems. So you make sure that everything is fine. And then you keep planning, as in, you're passing different terrains, different countries. So you need to make sure that you are aware of where you are. It includes a lot of general knowledge as to what inter-country relationships are, what the political status is. Is there any disturbance over here? So
That's also a very scary part.
As
You
long as you're-
cross the international border without any knowledge, something like that happens.
it wouldn't. We have controllers controlling it. Only thing is you need to be aware, as in even if we talk, we do always have a part of our attention on the aircraft, the other part on the air traffic controller, and where we are always aware of where we are. I think that's very important while flying.
Okay, you were a part of a total women crew some time back, right?
A lot
Share
of times.
us your
Yes.
experience regarding that.
Oh, it's one of the most fun flights to do. I think we do have so many other common things to talk about. As you had mentioned, being a woman and being in this job, it's not just the professional part. We don't talk about it while we are on the job. But then the good thing is while we are on the layover and we meet over for breakfast or for coffee, we do talk about stuff, as in I'm pretty young right now and I have got seniors who've, helped me make better decisions than I would have myself because of their own experiences, be it even cabin crew or my senior captains. There's some things that these sort of flying helps, having all women crew, because then we do not have restrictions thinking about there might be a male who might judge us. So that's one thing I would say definitely is much better. And yeah.
Comfort zone.
Yes. So I did my very first flight in command of an all women's flight on this Women's Day. And just to make that announcement just to tell them that, we are all women crew. This is just to celebrate the strength and the significance of women, not just in this airline, but in all of our lives. I got goosebumps.
Me too, right now. Just to hear the fact.
Yeah. And I realized that it is a very big thing. It's a big deal to handle your home and your job, and such a demanding job at that. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I was about to come to that point. How is work-life balance? How do you balance your home as well as your job? I mean, this is a pretty challenging job. So how do you do that?
It's tough. It's not as normal as any other life. But then one thing about being away from home half the month is that the other half that you do get at home, I do cherish every minute of it. I'm married now, so I need to, balance both my husband's side and my side. And it does take a lot of energy, I would say, and attention. But this job makes you realize how important family is, just because you're away from them and you crave to be in their lives and keep yourself updated as to what's happening. And the worst thing is that time passes very fast, as in for me a year is actually half of what maybe your year might be, because I lose days when I go in different time zones. So that's where, when you look back, you realize for me these 13 years in the industry itself and 11 years on the job have been like just a flash of a second. It's just gone. So that's how.
I wouldn't ask you how your family support is, because it's pretty obvious that
Oh yes,
there are
they're
huge.
huge.
I mean, it's huge.
Yes.
So, what would you like to say to show your gratitude towards your family? Of course, your husband. He's also a famous footballer,
Yeah.
Mr. Gauramanggi Singh Morangthem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he must be also very understanding on his part
Yes.
to sustain your relationship,
Yes.
a lovely bond. What would you say to them, your family, your husband?
Thank you. A big thank you. As in, I don't think words would be enough to say how grateful I am for having these people in my life. As in, not only do they understand, but they actually make a huge effort in trying to make my life run smoothly, because they do understand what is at stake. As in, there are some 260 people sitting behind me that depend on me for reaching a place safely.
Quite a huge responsibility.
It is. And they not only appreciate and recognize it, but then I think I don't say it enough, but then they're just a blessing in disguise from God. And they are very patient in listening. They are very patient with me, because this job, you must have seen it, when you don't get proper sleep at night, you do get cranky and moody. It happens to me. Then
Irritating, annoying.
exactly. But they have also found out the secret to how to solve that. That's food and sleep for me. So they just feed me and send me in and just say, just go and sleep. And they would know that, when I wake up, I'd be better. So they do put in
very
an
sweet.
effort. They're very sweet, all of them. And never have they stressed me with, societal pressures. They have been protecting me from a lot of, I would say, occasions and places where maybe they would have been happier with me around, but then they have accepted that my job is such that it's okay. So they're very frank about it to other people as well in the society, that she's in a demanding job, and we recognize that.
Too
which is
lucky you are.
Oh,
in that
definitely.
terms.
Touch wood. I'm really lucky. Yeah.
So I do remember that your marriage to Mr. Gauramanggi has been a very talked about affair.
Was it?
Yeah, in Manipur,
Okay.
because we used to search, who is Pushpanjali getting married to, and he turned out to be a celebrity footballer.
Yeah.
Okay, jokes apart. Now, okay, you love your job; it is your passion.
Yes.
But apart from this job, what would Pushpanjali be caught doing?
You want a serious answer to that,
Yeah,
or
of course.
gardening? Then I love gardening.
Okay.
It's something that it just makes me happy the whole time. Other than that, I think I would have definitely gotten into something related to fitness or hiking or travel. So that's another thing. Just to relax myself, I have a small cat. This is my little baby. I love spending time with him. So
Okay.
that's how, normally my typical day goes.
So, Pushpanjali, we would come to the point where we would ask you to share some suggestions, as you are a big source of inspiration to many youths, particularly to young girls of Manipur. So, what would you like to say to them, those who want to join your profession?
Don't limit yourself.
Okay.
Just don't think that you can't do something unless you've tried it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not made for it, because they don't know that, first of all, and you have not tried it. So no matter what it is, unless you've tried it, it's okay to fail at things, but try it. If you feel, do it, because you never know, it might work out. But if you don't try, you're anyhow going to lose that chance. So do that. And second thing is, keep working on priorities, as in what is important for me. Keep thinking, would I be proud of this particular action 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line? Will it be all right to have this as a part of my identity? I think that's one question that has helped me make better decisions over time. So that's that. And yes, obviously, always pay attention to personal growth. Know yourself first before making or expecting anybody else to understand or know you, because you're the only person who's going to actually stay with yourself your whole life.
Yeah. So fly high, enjoy the view
Thank you.
from inside the aircraft, and thank you so much for coming to our studio. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And we hope to talk to you another time. Do come visit our studio.
Definitely. I'll
Thank
do
you so
that.
much.
All right. Thank you.
So that was the concluding part of the interaction between Pushpanjali Potsangbam, the first women commercial airline pilot of Manipur, and Sagosem Roma. Brought to you by the All India Radio Imphal. We'll meet you again next week with a fresh topic. Till then, take care.